Most businesses don't have a sales problem. They have a leak problem. And that matters because a leak does not usually look dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It does not always show up as a crisis. There's no flashing lights or a giant warning sign, although that would help. More often, it looks ordinary, like an everyday thing. It looks like a price you haven't revisited in 2 years. It looks like a project that quietly takes much more time than you ever could have planned for it to take. It looks like a client who never hears from you again after the work is done. It looks like a team member doing things 5 different ways because there's no real process laid out. It looks like a business owner who is working harder and harder trying to grow while the money keeps slipping out the side door. That's what we're talking about today. And it's really because profit is often lost in quiet, very ordinary ways, not in big dramatic disasters, not in giant mistakes, and not always in bad decisions. Just small leaks that compound over time and reduce the return on all the work you're already doing. And if you don't spot them, you can spend months, years, decades trying to fix your revenue when the real problem is what your business keeps failing to keep. Hello and welcome back to Profit on the Table. I'm Jane Parmel, and today we are digging into something that I believe affects almost every service-based business at some point. The hidden profit leaks costing you more than you could ever realize. A lot of business owners are focused on getting more, right? More leads, more sales, more visibility. I'll get more customers. I'll do more marketing. And sometimes you do need to do more top line growth. You do need to do those things. But very often, before you need more business, you need a better grip, a better handle on the business you already have and the systems that you use to work with them. You need to look at what's being lost, what's being diluted, what's being given away, what's becoming inefficient, what's become normal, even though it's quietly costing you. So in this episode, I want to help you spot the first 4 of 7 of the most common profit leaks I see in service businesses. We're going to walk through them one by one over the next 2 episodes, what they look like, why they're expensive, and why they become so dangerous once they start to feel normal. And by the end, I want you to choose one area, take a closer look at that this week. Because fixing leaks is often faster, smarter, and more profitable than chasing sales. So before we get into this to the 7 or the 4 right now, let's define what a profit leak actually is. A profit leak is any place in your business where money, time, margin, or opportunity is slipping away because something inefficient, unexamined, or undermanaged has become normal. Things you don't pay attention to. A profit leak is not always obvious. It's not always a bad month. It's not always an empty pipeline. It's not always a huge mistake. Sometimes it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and we all know how much those hurt. A little too much time here, a little too much discounting there, a little too much over delivery, a little too little follow-up, a little too little consistency, a few missed chances to deepen those client relationships, and a few former clients who quietly drift away because they were never asked back. That's how profit disappears. Very quietly, very casually, and ordinarily. And because it happens in small pieces, it gets overlooked. But small leaks compound. And over time, they do real damage. So let's start with one of the biggest culprits, underpricing. This is one of the most common leaks because it often hides behind a very reasonable sounding thought pattern. Listen, owners say it. I don't want to scare people away. My customers won't pay anymore. I just want to stay competitive. I'll raise my prices later. Or the classic, and my favorite one, at least I'm getting the business. But underpricing doesn't just mean you make a little less money. It actually changes the whole pressure system of your business. When you underprice, you need more clients to hit the same financial goals and targets. That means you need more volume. You need more energy. You need more hours. You need more delivery. And you need to constantly be selling just to keep up. And that pressure starts showing up everywhere else. It affects your capacity as an owner. It affects your team's capacity. It affects your ability to improve systems. You never have time to sit and look at it. It affects how much white space you have to think strategically before you make a decision. It affects the quality of a customer experience because when you lower the margins, everything feels rushed. Underpricing also trains people to expect more for less. And once that becomes your pattern, as they say here in New York, forget about it. It gets harder to pull back when people expect that. So it's not just a pricing issue, it's a positioning issue, a sustainability issue, a confidence issue. And often it's a business model issue. You have to change that. If the work is valuable, but the price is weak, the profit will keep leaking no matter how hard you work. The second leak is scope creep. And scope creep is one of those leaks that often disguises itself as being helpful. You want to be generous. You want to be responsive. You want to be easy to work with. You want the client to feel supported. So you say yes to one more change and one more call and one more favor and one more quick thing and one more add-on that never gets priced in as an add-on. And before you know it, the work you agreed to do is not the work you're doing anymore. Now your timeline is longer. Your team is spending hours upon hours doing the same work. Your margin is shrinking. And because none of it was clearly documented or billed properly, you absorb the cost. That's the leak. Not just the extra work. It's really the normalization of extra work without extra value attached to it. And here's why this one is so dangerous. Scope creep feels small in the moment. It doesn't feel like one giant decision. It feels like 100 tiny yeses. And those tiny yeses can quietly turn a profitable project into an exhausting one. Scope creep also confuses clients about what's included. So the next time around, they expect the same over delivery. Now, what should have been a one-time exception now becomes the new baseline for them. That's expensive, not only in money, but in boundaries, clarity, and trust. They expect much more out of you than you're willing to give or can give. The third leak is weak follow-up. And this one costs businesses far more than they ever realize. A lot of owners assume that if someone wants to work with them, they'll reach back out to me. They'll call me. Or if someone was interested, they'll remember. They'll get my number. They'll call somebody. Or if a proposal went quiet, it was probably never going to happen anyway. But that's not always true. People get busy, they get distracted, they delay decisions, they mean to respond and forget. And in the absence of your follow-up, opportunities cool off. Not because the offer was bad, not because the person said no, or because there wasn't a need, but because nobody followed the thread. Weak follow-up leaks profit before the sale, during the sale, and after the sale. It shows up in leads that go cold, proposals that never get revisited, in conversations that had real promise, but with no next step. Clients who had a good experience, but never heard from you again. And because follow-up feels simple, people truly underestimate the value of it. Proof's in the follow-up. But if follow-up is often where trust gets reinforced, where questions get answered, where hesitation gets reduced, where timing changes, where decisions get made, it is of the utmost importance. And if your follow-up is weak, your pipeline may look thinner than it actually needs to be. The fourth leak is inconsistent service. When you deliver inconsistent service, it's devastating to a business. This is what happens when the client experience depends too much on mood, memory, urgency, or who's handling the work that day. You see, one client gets a smooth process, another gets confusion. One client gets proactive communication, the other one has to chase you for updates. One client feels cared for, the other one feels like they fell through the cracks. That inconsistency is hugely expensive because service businesses don't just sell outcomes, they sell confidence, trust, the feeling that the client is in capable hands. They trust you. And when delivery is inconsistent, that confidence starts to wobble. Now, you may still technically complete the work. You may still, we'll just get it done. I've heard that many times. But the client experience becomes less repeatable, less referable, and worst of all, less premium. You can't charge for it. Inconsistent service also creates internal drag. Team members spend more time figuring out what should happen next. Clients ask more questions because the process is unclear. Mistakes, rework, double work, and miscommunications are all more likely. And when that becomes routine, you start losing profit through friction. Not drama, friction. And friction is costly because it steals time and weakens trust at the same time. So, we've broken it down to these first 4 areas where profit leaks. In our next episode, we'll lay out where the other 3 areas are. And we'll have all 7 all together. So here's the question I want you to sit with this week. Where in your business is money slipping away because something inefficient has become normal to you? Not dramatic, not flashy, just normal. Because that is often where the leak is hiding. And that is often where the fastest profit opportunity lives. So over the next few days, choose one profit leak we've gone through today, one that you suspect is happening in your business, and take a closer look at it. Then share this episode with someone else who needs that tap on the shoulder to remind them, maybe you should look at these things. Because most businesses don't just need more sales. They need fewer leaks. Thanks for being here for episode 2 of Profit on the Table. Take some time today and enjoy the ones you have in your life, the ones you work hard for. I'm Jane Parmel, and I'll see you next time at the table.